everybody, Brian here from quantlabs.net. Just wanted to introduce you to 3 PDFs that we will be talking about on Monday. Let me just show you what I'm referring to. If you come under my events here, that doesn't matter where, just come to quantlabs.net, come under events. So just so everybody who's new to all this, right now we are focusing on events starting up May 15th, Quant Analytics Trading Powwow Intro. Our first agenda, I guess you could call it, will be what I'm about to show you. We just had a person by the name of Isaac join my membership, and he had a series of questions regarding his own system and different types of analysis. So I thought it would be pretty interesting to pull together whoever wants to come out for this to do a general brouhaha about these topics, because he summarized it pretty good in these PDFs, and I thought I would introduce these and then drill down from here on Monday at 7 p.m. as described in this event that we've got here. So I'll put these PDFs and make them available in this event section. All right, so let's get to the PDFs now. Okay, so what he's done is he looks like he's building out his own system and maybe service for commercial purposes. He's broken down the different types of analysis: fundamental, technical, sentiment, psychographic, quantitative. Fundamental obviously is the big one for me, which enables you to understand the processes that will drive pricing in the markets. Technical analysis, when I do my Bloomberg News app daily consumption, what I find is I'm learning a lot on a couple things. Where the hot money flows to, which means you'll get wider or higher price movements, which enables you to have potential higher daily targets if that's what you're after. With technical analysis, also enables you to, consuming the Bloomberg app enables you to see the patterns over a couple of months if you were to really put some serious time into it. On top of understanding it somewhat in real time, definitely within a few days, of where the best opportunities lie in the markets on a regional basis. If it's, for instance, if it's Europe, US, or China, or anywhere else, pretty well. Sentiment analysis is a little hard to predict, but it is obviously news event driven. Psychographic here, I'm not sure if it's human based, but if it's a systematic process, I would definitely put machine learning here. And then of course quantitative, which is obviously driven by the math. So these are different ways that the markets can be analyzed and pricing can be driven. And then coming to another set of topics here is the signal generation. Now, there's so many different ways. This is just some of them for his system, it looks like. Obviously, spider announcement reports, event triggers, and I can fully agree with a lot of the government and some news event that can be predicted. Seasonality, definitely, and it obviously impacts your futures and options, which is a dead-on analysis. Sector rotation, where, as I've mentioned in my private videos for my new members in the Quant Analytics, where you could have the same thing here, where you have the bottoms and the tops, where you would have the regime switching from, let's say, defensives to cyclicals, or no trading at all if you're focusing on stocks, but there's other opportunities that may get you better returns if you focus on things like commodity or currency or something else like that. And then the macro industrial, which is obviously fed in from the impact of what happens in the commodity pricing as an input cost to those companies, and then that becomes part of the value chain of an industry. For instance, steel, which would impact mining for steel companies, and then obviously that would hinder some kind of fabrication or smelting process. A company that focuses on that then is fed back into, let's say, steel, planes, or there's a whole variety of part of the value chain that you need to consider. System processes, social media, and all this other stuff here, I kind of question. But the feeds, if you're using a professional service like Bloomberg or IKEFeed, is a definite way to go. Announcements, again, those are pretty hard to predict unless it's a calendar event that is part of a calendar that you would have access to through your broker. Data management, time series analysis, using, of course, he's using Redis as well. Some of the new stuff in Redis 4 gives you a totally different way to analyze the data from a machine learning standpoint, from a graphical or a graph database point of view. So there's different techniques using Redis for different purposes with the new Redis 4. Machine learning for scikit, if you're using Python, and there's different ways to analyze that, no doubt, for research to find different dynamically generated models. The pipeline, again, not sure. Alerts trigger. Oh, I see. So he's using mobile, it looks like. Yeah, so he's taking the same approach as I am if you have an iPhone or something, to have a mobile device. Alert notification, as well as automatic trade triggers. Of course, that's where the execution comes in. And then we have the last PDF here. Let me just zoom in on this a bit. Okay, so here he's focusing on the different markets for asset classes divided up by indices. Again, if you've seen my complete analysis, and when I say this, for those that may not know, if you go to my Instagram account, you will find literally thousands upon thousands of charts that I do every day, about 20, 30, maybe 40 a day. Okay, so you got 12,500 charts there. Okay, so going back to our lovely chart. So from that sort of analysis that's put up on my Instagram, you'll quickly classify your indices, again, if it's US based typically, and then divide up into Europe and then Asia, more Japan, China, and some other Asian countries. Treasuries, of course, has an impact. And then European bonds versus other Asian or US bonds, spot FX markets, obviously the different currency pairs, future commodities that you can use, as I said, the industrial metals versus energy versus some agriculture, precious metals as a haven, and even moving into things like indices as well with the futures and the options market. So these kind of correlate with each other. And if you want to know more about that, if you come under my products, if you come under the product, I have different courses here, and this course actually kind of focuses on that futures options strategy overview. Now it will give you a complete overview of what's available in that course right here. Okay, and that we cover there. And then of course options and hedging, which is again impacts both options and hedging futures markets. ETFs can be used for analyzing various different ways of, in conjunction with indices, to check out flow, order flow of by region, by market sector. So those are really good. And of course, as I said, you can get into options and hedging as well. So here he talks about the major market impacts on economic indicators that drive price. from the Fed or central banks, interest rate, non-farm payroll, retail sales, CPI, PMI, GDP, PPI, PMI, consumer confidence index, housing starts. He's got it all here. Trade balance, University of Michigan, jobless claims, and of course that impacts all these, which you can use on different industries that you could use for looking for your shorts and longs in any arbitrage opportunity in the indices or equity markets through any of these, through analyzing, for instance, car sales or wholesale sales, ISM, all of it. Core CPI for inflation, housing sales, income levels, money supply from an economic standpoint. A lot of that's already covered. Pretty impressive stuff he's got. Here's a list. Construction. Again, these are all forward-moving, forward-looking. You don't really want to focus at all on backward or historical stuff because it's just what happened yesterday really has no relation to where the market will go tomorrow. It's just usually that's the case. And then some other elements as well. But again, you could divide this up by U.S. You can also find region, same thing through the Eurostats for the Euro market, as well as the Asian market as well, specifically China. So then he gets into the more of the technical stuff. So let's get to that. Data management, signal generation, trading pipeline. A lot of this, I guess he's looking at his own solution here. Kafka, protobuf, simulation binding, scikit-learn, post-trade, keyword, signal generation, remote running software, Comet. I guess this is his own system. All right, so Forex, Redis 4, I'd definitely be going with. Kafka for Python interpreter simulation and database store. That's a tough one. Simulation binding, post-trade logging, scikit-learning. That's a different way to do it. There's also more popular machine learning libraries like TensorFlow or Torch from Facebook as well. Remote running software, I guess it's the same as like on a cloud solution. And then he goes into more of the front-end GUI stuff using Swift or Chart Director that I've identified for charting. For me, I'd probably go with the iOS, which is obviously driven by Swift for Mac. That's what I'm, as you can tell, I'm not really talking a lot about Windows, and you probably know why. Obviously, different data feeds, IQ feed, IB, test client. So this guy's really done his homework with my stuff, which is really good of him. Order management, execution, important. Brokers, TWS from interactive brokers. You could also use the IPython notebook as a way to develop your own research using Python 3, all the different CSVs or PNGs. How do you manage all that? So that's pretty well very generic. PyData. I haven't really gotten into this, but he sounds like he's farther ahead than I am. So maybe you could talk about that. PyPy3 package set for numerical analysts. I use pandas, I use NumPy, and I also use Matplotlib, without a doubt there. He's also trying to integrate it with C, C++, which is fine. Back-end processing, you could use one of these, FastFlow, NuPlot, the different types of IDEs for CodeLite, NumPy Boost Python if you integrate with C++, and then you could build JSON. And then again, he's got his different databases of Reddit or Mongo. I will tell you right now, Redis 4 is definitely the way to go. MongoDB, I only say that because this is true open source versus MongoDB, which is more like a freemium. So like, for instance, if you want to get the in-memory functionality of MongoDB, you got to spend 10 grand, and that's the equivalent of what Redis 4 gives you. And again, that's free because it's open source. Fixate, another different way to do fix. I'm not even nowhere close to looking at running fix at all. I'll be on the broker level. I'll be probably using simple brokers like starting out with probably Duca's copy, using their proprietary software, J4X, which I've covered in my YouTube channel. And then of course there's different ways to deploy on what OS operating system in Linux, if it's Ubuntu or Linux Mint. Probably Ubuntu is the better way to go. It's more actually the Mint's more popular, but I'm just more familiar with Ubuntu. And then of course for really lowest latency, you want to kind of maybe go with free BDS or open BDS. I've talked about that as well. So that's over the high level. So just wanted to introduce you to these and talk about these. If you want to be part of this meetup, I think we'll go over these PDFs, the pros and cons of some of these points, and if other people want to chime in, that's fine too, to help out this guy to talk about the overall approaches that he's using, which is very similar to what I'm doing, but it's quite detailed, as you can tell. Okay, so hopefully we will see you Monday, and if you want to get access to these, just come under, once again, under the quantlabs.net, come under event, and then choose Quant Analytics Pro Trading Powwow Intro, and I'll put all the PDFs in here as well as this video as well. All right, hopefully I'll talk to you later, and see you on Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. Later.